Drop everything and clear those ears. It's time for the Dave and Dave Show.
Hey! Oh!
Dave the Rave. Dave the Rave in red. Red alert. Full soup.
I had to put this on ice. You know, leading up to the Super Bowl, I had to put this shirt on.
Yeah.
So wearing all green heading up to the Super Bowl.
And I've seen it times, lad. I've served a couple of Guinness in your direction.
I am considering this. Maybe this is my Red Storm shirt. No, the Red Storm.
Oh, my.
Having quite the college basketball season in Queens.
No doubt.
In Jamaica, Queens. With the coach of the how many teams did Rick Pitino coach? Is it 27 or 28? I can't remember. Anyway, there's a whole bunch. But he's got St. John's back, not necessarily to where they were maybe in the mid 80s, but a lot better than they've been for a very long time. Very long time.
Oh, no. He's doing a great job. He's still got all his hair to slick back there, which I could appreciate.
Yeah.
But no, he's challenging those guys, to when there's adversity to step up. I mean, I don't know if you heard that speech he had at halftime with his squad, but they're playing tough, and they play on the road really tough, which is going to be really interesting come tournament time. They're going to be fun to watch. I think we both, favor them in the tournament, being a little bit of an outsider. It'd be really interesting to see the Final Four odds, winning odds on that team, the Johnnies.
I'm telling you what, we're gonna talk a little bit about some teams that we like coming into the tournament today, and I wanted to tout his son's team, New Mexico, but then they turn around and they screwed us the other night against Boise State. So I dumped them. You dump them and you dump them fast. I dumped them.
He dumped them.
I like New Mexico. I think Patino's kid's a terrific coach. I'm gonna say New Mexico. They're well coached. Anyway, yes, they are, and they're actually a very good team too.
It's a blood.
Still think they're a little bit of a sleeper team coming into the tournament. They stubbed their toe a little bit the other night at Boise State. Came out after halftime, and I don't know, they just got blown off the court. But we are going to talk about some other teams. What do we want to do first? We want to talk about across the pond?
Going across the pond, as we always do there, you old boiler. Let's see what you got there. I know you got some of that slimy blood in you, so spit it out.
It's great stuff.
You got the Liverpool colors.
Fantastic. Oh, no. Don't want that.
All right.
I root against them.
I'm sorry.
I'm always rooting against the Yankees. You know that. Yeah, I always got to root against the top team.
Hey, we're Mets, baby. Our time is coming.
We're the Everton of New York.
And that's right.
That so happens. I might be talking about them in a little while. Oh, no, I'm not talking about them in a little while. I'm going to talk about it right freaking now.
All right. Give it to us.
I'm already on the show. They made the coaching games back to David Noyes, who coached Everton way back when. He's been around forever, coaching Premier League soccer and some other levels of soccer too. Not quite so premier as this, but anyway, he's back with Everton. Hey, look at they were looking at they were in the relegation zone for a little while. That was only a few weeks. It was like a month and a half ago. Now they've won 4 out of 5, and the only blemish on that record, it's not a blemish. It was the game against Liverpool that they just had at home, which might have been the greatest game that they've ever had in their history, where they scored the equalizer with like no time left in the game to tie. The roof went off the place. So the tie might be the best game of all of the last 5. The other 4 games they won in the Premier League. Now they haven't exactly been playing the giant killers, but hey, they're winning games, and they're playing I'm actually looking at the first two games I want to talk about here are both. I'm going against teams that used to be at the very top of this list.
Right. I mean, they got a shot against, man. You never want to say that ever in your life, but they're in Goodson Park there.
Yeah, yes, that's right. And there's only a few games left there. They're going to tear it down, and they're going to place. Place has been there for over 100 years, and
gonna be nuts. That's an early game as well, right, David?
Oh, it's super early. That's good point. Yes, for all you, everybody, you're an early rise. You get up 7:30 in the morning tomorrow on Saturday, Eastern time, 7:30. If you're watching us on the West Coast, hey, you got plenty of time. You wake up, you have a nice big. I know. 7:30 in the morning. Okay, I'm just gonna get right into it. I was going to introduce this as going against two teams that used to be at the very top of the Premier League. Now they've hit the skids more or less, and they just played each other last week, which was Man U against Tottenham, and Tottenham ended up beating them. I was going to say that they've both fallen on hard times, but for those people like me who like to root against the big dogs, I'm going to say it's hard times. How about that? Hard times.
Last laugh.
Man U sucks, and Tottenham sucks too. Although a little scary. I'll get to that game later. Right now, I'm looking at Everton at home at Goodison Park. Last time they ever get a chance to beat the crap out of Man U at home, and they're going to do it. Everton plus 140 straight up to win the game against Man U. Okay.
Right. In the books. Second game. Lay it on him.
A team that did the double league. I've talked about them a bunch. They haven't been doing that great, but they're hanging in there. If they can get things to break their way, like right now, Leicester is down there near the bottom. And they're playing Brentford right now. I think they might do okay today because they're at home. But anyway, Ipswich, let's just say they win this game against Tottenham on tomorrow.
Hotspurs. You look a little Hotspur yourself with that red.
Would be out of the relegation zone. Conceivably, they could be out of the relegation zone. They could be in 17th place, 18th, 19th, and 20th, get sent down. Ipswich won their first game in the Premier League this season. And it was on the road, which was weird. They've had trouble winning at all. Definitely. They have trouble winning anywhere, but they've had trouble winning at home. But their first win of the season was, I don't know what it was, maybe November, December. And they beat Tottenham on the road. Massive upset. Tottenham was a huge favorite in that game, even though they're not that great this year. So now they come back and they're playing at Ipswich. Tottenham's actually won 2 games in a row, but one of them, I'm not going to give them a hell of a lot of credit for that game against Man U. Because Man U's just such shit right now. Anyway, Ipswich at home. You know what? I'm not taking them to win again. Not taking them to win again.
In mid-swing.
I'm betting it for false. I'm betting it for Ipswich and Tottenham draw plus 290 on the draw. Okay?
The 290 draw.
I got to admit, Ipswich has been cold. They haven't won a game in forever. They haven't won many games this year, period. And that's the reason why I'm qualifying this and turning it into a draw instead of an outright Ipswich victory. But their game last week against Aston Villa, who just tied Liverpool at home midweek this week, the game for Ipswich last week was almost unbelievable because they drew and they were down a man for like a lot of that game. They were down a man. They still managed to hold up Aston Villa. They got the tie. That was a tie that was very much like a win against a good team, against a team that's better than Tottenham, overall this season for sure. So Ipswich home draw plus 290. against Tottenham. If they win, God love them. If they lose, I'm wrong. Okay, last
All right. Well, that's the second game that will be offered on the USA Network. First being your Everton squad and playing a good sport.
on regular TV. Awesome.
Yeah, no, it says USA Network, so it must follow. Yeah, back to back. They're playing on the. That's right. You actually like Chiquita Banana? Yeah, they're playing on Portman Road. All right. So Ipswich, Tottenham Hotspurs with a tie, and you like Everton to pull it out against the mighty Man U.
And last but not least, we're going for a trifecta.
Jesus.
All right, Sunday, 11:30, the solo game, the big match, which on the schedule before the season started would have been looked at like this is going to be the Super Bowl. Okay, Man City at home against Liverpool. All right, Liverpool, top dog this year, obviously playing better than anybody else in the Premier League, maybe playing better than anybody else in the world. Could end up winning the Champions League. They look the best. They look the best right now. Man City, the mighty have fallen. They haven't fallen to the degree that a Man U or a Tottenham's fallen, but they've fallen off from where they were recently, which was the best team in the world. So that's a tough standard to keep all the time. But here's the thing. This season, even with Man City dropping off and really looking like they can't possibly win the league overall, at home, they're still 8-2-2. They've only lost 2 games at home all year. So
not bad.
Most teams would be elated to have that on the record if they only lost 2 home. Yeah, it's a disaster. Because they have lost 2 games and they have drawn 2 games. But still, at home, they're 8-2-2. They're still a pretty tough customer at home. Liverpool, on the other hand, and have to give credit where credit is due. Liverpool is 9-5-0 on the road. They haven't lost a game at all on the road. Excuse me. But they have drawn 5 games on the road. So you see where this one's heading? See where I'm going with this one?
I think we're gonna have a
Man City team.
Still at Etihad Stadium. And what's the name of that stadium in Man U?
Man City is
Man City. I'm sorry, in Manchester.
Yeah,
but an Islamic name. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's owned by Idiot or what the fuck it's called? The Idiot Stadium. Yes.
Another sports another casino. All right, so we're going for a tie, is what you're saying.
Sponsors, Founders, which I'm always touting. Founders. This is Founders KBS Stout. This is one of the great beers in the world.
Aye, lad.
Founders KBS Stout, right here.
Founders. I've heard of it. I won't stray from the Guinness, but
fantastic beer.
Knowing that you're a aficionado, I'll let you slide.
All right, Man City plus 285 will draw every game against Liverpool.
All right, you wanted to hang around against the mighty Liverpool.
Love it.
And that's Sunday, 11:30 Eastern time
on Sunday,
and Peacock channel if you want to catch that draw. Liverpool and Man City.
So before the individual games that we're going to handicap more or less on Saturday, I thought we might talk a little bit about college basketball.
All right. College hoops. Coming up.
Some of the big boys that, people really, everybody knows. Maybe some of the mid-range teams we think might sort of be sleepers coming into the tournament, and maybe even some little guys. So, you want me to take it from the top?
Take it from the top, David. You're on a roll. I can see you're on the.
I'm going to go with the big boys first.
That Scarlet Knight jersey you got on there. Go for it.
Well, I don't think Rutgers is going to be in a tournament unless they run the table in the Big Ten, which is.
Yeah, correct.
I am going to mention them at some point. I know that one of these teams that I was looking at had something to do with Rutgers recently, and Rutgers has those 2 freshmen who are really tremendous players, but it's not enough. It's not enough to win on any
know,
regular basis in the Big Ten. The Big Ten is just, they
it's tough.
be one thing, but yeah, it's really tough. Really tough.
Yeah, they are.
Away from there. I'm going down of the top teams in the country. Obviously there's SEC teams all over the place. And, we've talked about them a little bit. We've been looking at individual games for Alabama and Tennessee and Auburn. But the team that I think is the value going into the tournament and the team that I think might sneak up on people is Florida. I just think Florida on their day can obviously beat anybody. They can also stub their toe. I mean, their 2 games against Tennessee are like, was it the same teams playing on court those days? Because the games were so unbelievably different from one another. But I think they're playing well right now. And I think that Florida heading into the tournament is the team with the kind of balance that wins the tournament. I think Florida has a little bit of everything. They've got size, they've got length, they've got guards, they've got shooting. I'm not going to say they're well coached. They have a good coach.
That's my line. Thank you.
My team is sort of coming out of the and this has happened before. This has happened where teams have come out of a conference where they weren't the top 1 or even 2 teams in their conference, and they end up doing real damage in the tournament, maybe even winning it. Thinking a conference that is so competitive as the SEC, that this might be the kind of year where a team like Florida sort of jumps up. And the other thing about Florida is, although they haven't been given the same sort of consideration that Auburn and Tennessee and Alabama have been given all year long, they've only got 3 losses. 3 losses. That's pretty good, especially in a league that is that tough. So anyway, I'm looking at top teams coming into the tournament that I think are going to do some damage. Florida is my big team pick.
Oh, they score. I mean, they score and rebound. Their field goal percentage is what? They're 8th and 9th. They're right up there with Auburn. No, Florida's a stud. I love them. They're right up there with Auburn and Duke. You're getting 8-1 now on Hard Rock Bet. It was 9-1. It was one of the teams I circled there last week. I'm looking at the odds there. They're more respected in the betting, than Tennessee, which is, you could get Tennessee at 17-1 to win it all. But Florida has more seniors. I think you're right there. We were talking about St. John's. You wonder if they have the size to go deep. But I'm looking at Texas A&M, as being really competitive in the SEC. I think they're really rising right now. I think, they're 40-1 right now to win it all. But I can't wait to see. Yeah, I can't wait to see the seedings and see the Final Four bets, even the conference bets. I mean, look at the conference winner. If you want to, you look at the Southeast Conference winner, Auburn and Florida. Florida, you can get 9-1. It's automatic almost. You got Auburn at minus 1,300. Are you kidding me? And Florida plus 900, Alabama plus 2,500. A&M just to win the SEC is 100-1. Look at some of these bets here. I like A&M. I'm looking at a team like Wisconsin, and this team is really rallying. I think they're the best team in the Big Ten right now. Better than Michigan, better than Michigan State. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on St. John's. They have the talent, seems like the offensive talent and the drive. I just don't know if they have the size as like teams, the SEC and the ACC. They got the beef up front.
I think St. John's makes up for their lack of size in toughness. I really do. I think that they're guys who are fairly big and strong, make up for it, and they're gonna just beat the crap out of you. Really, they're really like a city team. They really, I think they reflect what I like in basketball teams. Obviously, Patino has got so much out of this team. It's a little scary. I mean, they shoot the ball so poorly from outside that will probably come back to haunt at some point, especially in a tournament game where, let's just say the other team starts hitting from outside. They're getting three every once in a while when they come down the court, and you can't match that. That's tough. All right. We've been talking about these guys a little bit too long.
Okay.
Move on.
Let's get for Saturday's picks.
Oh, no. Oh, I was going to talk about some of these other guys. All right. Well, I'm just going to rip through them. All right. Like a mid-range team. We just talked about St. John's, like a ranked team, but obviously not one of the favorites to win the tournament. That I like. Another team, and I know you like these guys, Maryland. Was that another nice win last night? Maryland's really starting to play some ball. And, the sort of team that I think can kind of come from out of the weeds in the Big Ten. They're not the top ranked teams, but they're playing very well right now. And I kind of like Maryland as far as let's just say a top 20 team that might do a little bit of damage in the tournament. Moving on from there, I'm going to move down to some mid majors, and I'm looking at St. Mary's out west, because that is no longer Gonzaga's conference, not by a long shot.
Right.
Maybe even San Francisco's on level terms.
The Dons lingering in the weeds.
Mary's,
Yeah, that's the
they've
quality.
been there before. There were some seasons where St. Mary's really had some nice teams. Only problem I have with them in kind of going far in the tournament, I'm sort of looking for them to sort of substitute for Gonzaga from 20 years ago. All right. Being the team that comes out of the West Coast, small school, nobody expecting anything, and they play above their heads. Because St. Mary's did have a couple of seasons where they came in, they got a pretty good seed in the tournament, and they underachieved. So that's the only reservation I have with them, is that their history is not great. Another mid-major that I'm looking at is Virginia Commonwealth. The Atlantic 10 always has a team that plays a little bit better than anybody expected and goes a lot further. For years and years, that team was normally Temple. Okay. They would always win a couple of games. They'd make it to the Sweet 16 where people didn't think they were going to do it. This year's Atlantic 10 entry that I think is going to be very tough is going to be Virginia Commonwealth. They're 12th in the nation in defense right now, which is, I think, significant. They play good D, and they just play good all-around basketball. I think Virginia Commonwealth is going to be you don't want to catch them in the first round. If you have a higher seed and you catch them in the first round, or let's say you catch them, they win their first game, and then you catch them in the second round, look out. They're the kind of team that can definitely mess you up. Now we're going to go down, maybe not mid-major, I'm going to say maybe a little bit smaller on the conference scale. I'm looking at Drake. Drake is having a really good season in the Missouri Valley Conference, which often had some teams do some real damage in the tournament. Well, Creighton used to be in the Missouri Valley. Now they're in the Big East. But when they're in Missouri Valley, they used to surprise some people in the tournament. Obviously, Butler, that kind of thing coming out of Missouri Valley. So Drake is my team. Third in the nation in defense. Third. Okay. These guys play D. So look out. Which leads me to my next pick, which might even be less known as far as basketball goes, for sure. Nobody knows anything about these guys. North Texas, the Mean Green, is second in the nation in defense, and they're second in the American Conference. But to Memphis, who's a pretty damn good team. Memphis, on their day, can pretty much beat anybody. If the problem with North Texas is getting into the tournament. You might have to win that conference tournament in order to get in. Hopefully not. Hopefully, the way it's broken down now with less conferences and more of these super conferences, hopefully some of these smaller conferences will get 2 teams in. And in the case of the American Conference, I think they should get Memphis as long as they play well the rest of the year and play well in their tournament. I think Memphis should be in, and I think North Texas should be in as well. So we'll see what happens to that. And I should have mentioned that as a
mind of I?
No, it just as a precursor to talking about these teams. There's no guarantee that some of these teams are going to make it into the tournament if they screw up in their conference tournament.
Also, it's something to watch, and also for NIT as well. These are strong teams that are playing well, especially defensive teams do well in tournaments. You want to rely on your defense on the road and definitely in neutral sites. But no, the Drake Bulldogs are tough. You can get them at 500 to 1 to win the tournament.
500 to 1. But I'm not talking about winning. I'm talking about hopefully making it. And
there's a reason they're on
a dangerous team in the first round, and who knows, maybe even a second round upset. But as far as winning it all, the only team I talked about that I think would possibly win it all would probably be Florida.
Well, they're on the list there for a reason, and they think they can make the tournament. Their team to watch, especially if they're getting points. You want to keep an eye on those. I'm looking at Missouri too. Still 40 to 1 to win it all, but another team. It'll be really interesting the seeds, who gets in, obviously, but there's so much talent in the SEC and the ACC. But like you say, some of these small schools are really good and they can compete. There's a lot of parity this year. I think we're going to have some surprises for the Sweet 16 and also the Final 8, Final 4, the Big 8, Final 4. Should be a great tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. So speed handicapping for Saturday now, because we only got about 10 minutes left.
All right.
A minute apiece in each game. You go first.
All right, I'm firing away. I like one of my teams that I mentioned, A&M, Texas A&M, that is. We're getting 1.5. Tough at home. 20-6, 9-4 in conference against Tennessee, one of the best defenses. But the Aggies stumbled a little bit last week against a tough Mississippi State squad on the road. They're solid at home, solid rebounding. That says what? Good hustle, good coaching. Tennessee is a national champion contender, toughest D, arguably outside of Houston. But I like A&M at home, getting 1.5 against the Vols.
Yeah, they're on my list. I have them as one of my picks, so we just saved a little bit of time there.
All right. Well,
it's a very tough game. Yeah. And I'm not going to tell anybody to put the mortgage on me.
No, Tennessee plays tough on the road.
But I like them. They are a good team. They are at home. That is a fun game to kick off the day.
Yes, first, and right behind it is, I'll just keep continuing. Wisconsin is hosting Oregon. We've been on this whiskey team, and this is the team that I think is going. It should be, going to win the Big Ten if they get a chance. There's enough games left. I think they're better than Michigan or Michigan State. Wisconsin 21-5, 11-4 Big Ten. Oregon Ducks 19-8, 8-8 in the Big Ten. And that's where Oregon is. They're a good big team that takes advantage of teams that are smaller than them. But Wisconsin's got plenty of beef, plenty of depth. They score 82 points a game. They've had a really nice 15-game, last 15 games, 13-2. Their only losses to your Maryland you were just talking about, and a road game to the left coast, UCLA. They're dominating. They're playing real well right now. Lay the big number. I know it's big, but Wisconsin does win big, 8.5. Wisconsin over Oregon.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that game because I got the other guy. And I got the other guy because I liked Oregon coming into the season. At one point, they had gotten up to where they were top 20 team for sure. I don't know how high their ranking got, but they were up there a little bit. Give me 2 seconds. I mean, they had a really bad spell there for a little while. They lost like 4 or 5 in a row. Really kind of terrible. All right, 1 second. I just want to see one thing about Oregon. But this is a team that's got really good guard play. That guy Shellstad's terrific player. They have a big man, so they don't get outmatched that way. When they get, especially against some of these Big Ten teams that definitely have at least one big guy, maybe even more sometimes.
That's a prerequisite for the
Big Ten schedule right now. Because I know they had that terrible streak there where they really. But I was looking at it earlier today, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was some sort of tough scheduling and some tough teams, and they lost. They lost a bunch of games in a row. At Minnesota, now Minnesota's a little bit better team than a lot of people think. Just went out to USC and beat them straight up. I think they were fairly sizable underdog in that game. Beat them straight up. They got smoked by UCLA. So that one's a little embarrassing. The home game against Nebraska, lost again. Then they had their little Michigan road trip where they had to play 2 ranked teams from Michigan and Michigan State. Interesting in that didn't exactly get blown out in those games. They lost. Don't want to lose, but they didn't get blown out. They played Michigan really tough. They had a shot to win that game. And then Michigan State, they lost. Then they come back. They beat Northwestern. They smoked Rutgers, who we were just this is why I want to talk about Rutgers. Oregon beat the crap out of Rutgers with their 2 super freshmen. And now they just came back. They're doing, these super conferences now, we've talked about this a lot this year, Dave, where they have to do these little mini road trips. They have to go to the Midwest and play 2 games. They have to go to the East Coast and play 2 games because they're going all the way across the country. So you can see this, right here in the schedule with Oregon. They played those 2 games against the Michigan teams. Boom, they went back home. They played 2 games. Now they have to come back to the Midwest. They just played Iowa the other night. They played them on the road. They beat them straight up. Now, I don't think that much of Iowa this year, but still, that's a good road win in the Big Ten. Definitely a good road win. I think this is too many points. I'm not going to deny the fact that Wisconsin is on a roll. I mean, they are on an effing roll. I just think that right now, this game, Oregon, the talent, they're gonna be able to compete in this game, and I like the 8.5 points. All right, next game, you.
All right, we'll have to see how your Ducks do in Madtown. Tony, saludos. Going back to the SEC, Mississippi State just had a really nice win last week. And I know they broke my heart. Against A&M, I believe it was. Although that was one of the few losses I had last week here on the Dave and Dave show. Yes, they did beat, but where are they going? They're going to Oklahoma, a team that we've backed a few times. And they've broken our heart. I hope that's not Oklahoma Graham. Yeah. Anyway, Mississippi State, I'm laying 1.5. We're going to Oklahoma. They're playing really well in their conference, where Oklahoma is not 3-10. Mississippi State has 7 wins. They play teams really tough. They're competitive. They average 80 points a game. Oklahoma has gotten smoked, and I do mean smoked. The only win they have at home is against LSU, who was a little bit suspect this year. I like Mississippi State going into Oklahoma. Lay the 1.5 with the Bulldogs on the road.
All right. We only got a few minutes left.
All right.
I'm looking at a total. I'm going with the total that we've been playing all year long. We haven't won them all, but we've won more than we lost. And I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to take a big stand on this one. I'm going to say Houston and Iowa State under 134.5.
Okay.
These teams,
Right.
if they break 110 in this,
Right.
that's my call.
Call on that one. I'm going to follow you up really quick with Vandy. Vandy's at home against Ole Miss. I don't know why, but they're getting 2 points. Ole Miss is, had success in the conference early, but they seem to be dead even. I'll take Vandy at home. I'll take the points. And then I'll just finish it up with Clemson and SMU. Huge matchup in the ACC. Everybody's clamoring over SMU. I still like Clemson on the road. I'm going to lay the 2 points. Give me your last two, Dave, and use the rest of the time.
We still got 2 minutes. You didn't have to go that fast.
Oh, okay. I'm the hourglass was spitting the last granules.
What spend the time that we did on the first 2 games.
All right. Well, bring us home.
Now, hang on. So you just went with your 2. And who were your 2 again? I want to write it down.
My 2 are Vandy at home, getting 2 against Ole Miss.
All right.
Clemson on the road, giving 2 SMU.
I can't believe you did that.
I know. Sorry.
I was going to take SMU, and then I said, I'm not taking SMU because I think Gulf Coast Dave is going to take SMU. All right.
They're calling me from Southern Methodist right now, the Pony Express. What? You went against us. I just think Clemson's
Well, I can't believe you didn't pick him for the tournament either, but maybe you could pick him next week after they beat Clemson. But I didn't take him here. I got 2 more games. I'm going with I'm dancing with the one that brung me. I'm going with Arkansas plus 1.5 against Missouri, although we've danced with Missouri a lot this year, too. But anyway, Arkansas plus 1.5 against Missouri. I think everybody's going gaga over the last win for Missouri, which was very impressive. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
Glad they did it. But
Arkansas plays tough at home.
Hey, they're tough.
Yes.
The tough one, and I think Missouri is going to be like another tough game. And
they just gave Auburn all they could handle, right, on the road.
And then my last pick is going to be a team I talked about a little earlier. I'm taking St. Mary's.
St. Mary's, the Gales.
That guy. All right. Now, one's weird because our ratings, this spread should be bigger than it is. If they're showing this game at 4.5, Gonzaga only favored by 4.5. It's supposed to be more than that. And I think it's because, they're seeing the limitations of this Gonzaga team and they're seeing the strengths of this St. Mary's team. And I think St. Mary's is going to go in there and play them real close or hopefully just win the goddamn game straight up. And that's my life bet.